Hey, Crafty friends. I'm Kristina from Sunny Day Memories.
And I'm Barb from NOLA Stamping, and welcome back to the Crafty Copycat Creations podcast.
This month was a little different for us. Instead of starting with a project concept or a sketch, we focused on a technique.
Yeah, February was all about experimenting with alcohol ink on vellum and using rubbing alcohol to create that beautiful marbled flowing effect.
It's one of those techniques that looks super artistic and impressive, but it's surprisingly easy and really forgiving.
And honestly, no two pieces ever turn out the same, which might be my favorite part.
All right, so this technique starts with just a few simple supplies. You need some vellum, some alcohol markers, and some rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol. That's it.
And a water brush filled with the alcohol, which, Christina, I totally stole that hack from you.
It's such a game changer. Having the alcohol inside that brush lets you pounce it, swirl it, soften the edges, all without needing a separate dish.
And for anyone who missed the tutorials, the basic idea is like this. You scribble with the alcohol marker onto the vellum. So I feel like the darker colors work best. And then you add rubbing alcohol to make the ink sort of move and blend together.
You can pounce the water brush for more defined marbled lines, rub gently for a smoother blend, or flick it for a little organic burst. And the ink just flows. It's because vellum is slightly frosted, it softens everything beautifully.
And Stampin' Up's vellum especially holds up really well to the moisture, and it doesn't seem to warp nearly as much as like some thinner vellums might do.
So I kicked the month off with that marbled heart that I had on my bookbinding style card. What I loved about this one is that it really showcased how bold this technique can be. I used Berry Burst, Highland Heather, and Gorgeous Grape, and I intentionally used the darker blends because once you add that alcohol, it really softens everything up.
And you really leaned into the marbling on that one.
I did. I tend to pounce the alcohol onto the vellum instead of rubbing it or brushing it softly because when you pounce, it creates those little defined lines around the color. It looks like true marbling.
Yeah, so, like, when you swirl, it's a little smoother, but when you pounce it, it gets that, like, veiny, marbly, organic look.
Exactly. And what is funny is I made those two hearts with the exact same colors, same technique, and they looked completely different.
That's the first reminder this month. You cannot control the technique.
That's so true. You can guide it, but you cannot boss it around.
So next up was the moon card, which totally felt like a different mood.
Yes, same technique, but instead of bright colors, you went gray and celestial.
And that's a really how versatile this, technique is. So for the moon, I used mostly gray alcohol markers, both, like, the darker and the lighter tones, and then I softened them up with rubbing alcohol. And so what happens is the alcohol sort of pushes the pigment away in little pockets, and so then it creates like this naturally crater-like texture.
It genuinely looks like a moon surface.
And I love that I don't have to draw the texture. I just scribbled a little bit, added some alcohol, and let that ink move.
It's such a great reminder that we don't have to be artists to get these beautiful artistic results.
Exactly. And then the vellum softens everything, so it just looks intentional.
And then layering it over that space themed design, that looked so spacey. It was so hard to believe that it was the same process, just a different vibe. Okay, then I pivoted into my Easter mode with the Peekaboo Bunny box.
Which I loved because this shows the technique in a completely different format, not just a focal die cut, but as a background window.
Yes, I did yellow and a touch of Timid Tiger to create that sunny Easter egg dyed effect. And here's something important. I didn't fill in the entire vellum with marker. I left intentional white space because once you add in the alcohol, it spreads.
That's a great tip. And at the time you're making it, when I was doing it, I want to fill everything up with color, but it's good to remember not to do that all the time.
Right. If you completely saturate it with marker, it gets muddy. If you leave breathing room, the alcohol has somewhere to move. And on this one, I definitely had more alcohol in my brush, so it flowed more with some of than some of my earlier pieces.
Which goes to show you the amount of alcohol that you use changes the look.
Correct. Less alcohol, you get a more defined marbling appearance. With more alcohol, you get the more fluid, more watercolor look.
And putting it behind the die cut window was genius because then you get that glow kind of effect through the shimmer paper.
Also, tiny chocolate bunnies inside, which always improves the project.
Always. So then I closed out the month with some rainbow chaos.
That was so beautiful. You scribbled all those colors on there onto your vellum.
It felt like I used every marker. I went Roy G. Biv, so I used the red, the pink, the orange, the yellow, green, blue, purple, and then I just let it all blend together. And then I did the same as you. I used the alcohol brush to soften the lines, and then I let it dry just for a minute or two, and then I flicked the water brush with my finger to create those little organic bursts.
That flicking trick is underrated.
It creates these little blooms where the alcohol pushes the pigment sort of outward. So it's really satisfying to watch. And then I had the hardest decision of the month. Use the bright side or the muted side.
Yes, because vellum gives you two completely different looks depending on which side faces up.
So I went bright, but the muted side was gorgeous too. And then at the very end, I added gold transfer accents because apparently I cannot leave well enough alone. But it tied everything together. And then the black matte, the rainbow, the gold shimmer, it framed the technique beautifully.
All right, time for takeaways. Barb, what did you learn this month?
Me, I loved learning how forgiving this technique is. If you don't like it, add more alcohol. If you think it needs more color, add more color. Flip the vellum, start over. It's just paper. And I love that it totally works for so many different things: bright rainbows, neutral moons, soft pastels, bold hearts. It's the same process, just totally different moods. So, how about you?
I think my takeaway was control versus flow. If you want that strong marbled lines like I do to pounce with your water brush, if you really want it more smooth and blended, kind of swirl it. More intensity, use those darker shades of your markers since it becomes kind of more muted with the vellum. And don't overthink it. Scribble, add alcohol, watch it move. That's the magic.
So, if you tried this technique this month, we would love to see what you made.
Join our public Facebook group, Crafty Copycat Creations, and post your version.
And don't worry if it looks different from ours. It should. That's the whole point of this technique.
And if you want even more technique driven inspiration, we also run Sunday sessions, our VIP crafting group.
We share bonus tutorials, sketches, exclusive projects, and behind the scenes crafty ideas. So, thanks so much for crafting along with us this month.
Yeah, thanks so much for spending part of your crafty time with us. And if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and subscribe to Barb at Nola Stamping and follow me at Sunny Memories on all of the socials.
And don't forget to join the public Crafty Copycat Creations Facebook group. We'd love to see what you make.
It's the perfect place to post your projects, see what others are making, and cheer each other on.
We love seeing how one idea can turn into so many different creations.
Until next time, keep copycatting and stay crafty.